Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'll be showing you how I replicated this dress. If this is what you would like to learn, continue watching and don't forget to share my video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also to like. So to begin, I'll be going into the pattern drafting process. I'll start with the back pattern first of all. So the first thing I did was to come down by 3 inches, then rule. Then from there I measured my bust point line, my under bust line, my waistline, and also my hip line. So on my shoulder line, which is a 3-inch line that I came down by initially, so there I measured my shoulder divided by 2. Then from there I came down by 1 inch. Then I measured my neck width of 3 inches and connected it to that 1 inch mark to form my shoulder slant. Then from there I came down by 7.5 inch. This is my armhole depth. I got this by dividing my bust by 6, then I added 1.5 into it. So I'll be connecting this to form my armhole line. Then I'll be ruling that point as my chest line. So from there I measured my bust divided by 4. I marked it. Then I got the midpoint of this my armhole line to create my armhole curve. I connected these 2 points together using my curve rule. So from there I measured 4 inch on my bust point line. I also came down on my half length, that's my waistline. I measured 4 inch, then connected this will be my dart line. So from that bust point, from the bust point line, that's on that dart line, I came down by 0.7 quarter, let's say quarter. I came down not exactly 1 inch anyway. So then my dart leg, I went in by half inch on both sides, then connected it. Here I'm just marking out my waist measurement, then I added the dart intake and connected it back to my chest line. Then on my hip line I measured my hip divided by 4, quarter of my hip measurement. Then I connected it back to the to the waist line like so. Then the dart for my lower bodice, I came down by 6 inches, so I'll be connecting it to the waistline like so, using the same half inch on both sides like I did for the upper part. So to create our build-up neckline, I extended the neckline upward. Then on that mark I measured 1.5 inch, that is the length of my build-up. Then I'm going to be squaring this up using a straight rule. I squared it up. Then I'll be coming in by half an inch from that point. Then on the center I'll go down by half an inch also, and I'll be connecting these points together. And on my shoulder, under my shoulder line, I'll come out by half an inch also, then I'll be connecting this point to that half an inch that I came in by initially. So I'll be using my curve rule to connect it like so. So this is my neck, the built up for the back. Then from my waist point downwards, from my waistline I came down by 7 inch. This is where that curve will start from. So I'll be curving this 7 inch. From this 7 I'll curve it to meet the center back, where the center back point stopped. Yeah, so I'll be using my curve rule to connect it like so. And I'll go ahead and cut out my pattern so that I'll do to remove the zip bulge, because I'll be separating this pattern. I don't want to use it as a whole. I'll be dividing it at the waistline. So first of all, I went in by half an inch on that waistline. That's from the zip allowance I gave. So I'll be connecting this point. I'll just blend it to meet the waistline, the bust point, and also the hip line. This is to help eliminate that bulge that you see at the back of a dress or a top. So just blend it like this, and I'll be cutting out this point, this side that I just marked. I'll be cutting it out like so. So after cutting it out, I'll still go ahead. Like I said, I'm going to be dividing this pattern into two. So if you like, you can use yours as a whole, but I want to divide it. Why I'm dividing it into two is because of the breast princess that I did in front. So, and I also like my patterns being like that. So to further eliminate zip bulge, I came up from that upper part. I came up by half an inch from the zipper allowance, and I'll be blending it to meet the side like so. So I'll be removing this part that I just marked now. So that's it for the back pattern. So we'll be cutting it separate, so for the front pattern, I repeated the same thing as the back, same shoulder measurement, divided by 2. My neck width of 3, came down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope, connected it, then do the same thing, come down by 7.5 inches for my armhole depth, squared it up just like I did for the back pattern. So after that, I will now get my chest line, roll it out like so. Then the next thing I'll be doing is to I'll measure my bust. I'm just marking out my bust divided by 4, my waist divided by 4. I'll be needing that later. Then after that, on my armhole line, I marked the midpoint. Then on that midpoint, I'll curve it like this, and I'll come out by 1.5 from that point outward like this. Then for my dart, I'm using 4 inch on the bust point, 4 inch on the waistline, and I will be connecting it this way. I'll mark 1/2 inch on my under bust, 1/2 inch on my waistline, then I'll connect it using a straight line. Then I'll come down by 1 inch from that line, then connect it like so. Then I'll mark it to meet the midpoint of the armhole line that I marked. Then at the center, at the side, I'll come out by 1.5 inch on both the underbust and the waistline. I'll connect it using a straight line like this. Then I'll use my curve rule to curve it to meet that 1 inch that I came down by. Then I'll curve it also to meet the 1.5 inch that I came out by at my armhole area. I hope you understand. Then here I am just imputing the dart in that I took for the waistline. I also repeat the same thing for my chest line, just put in the dart like that. Then for my build up, I will be extending my neckline upward, extending the line upward like so. Then on that line, you measure the length of your build up. I'm using 1.5 for mine, so I will be marking 1.5. Then I'll go on that my shoulder line, the shoulder line, I'll come out by 1/2 inch. Then on that point where I marked the length of my build up, I'll come in by 1/2 inch like so. I'll be using my curve rule to connect it just like I did for the back. So I'll be connecting these 2 points together like this. So after connecting it, the next thing you're going to be doing is to determine your neck opening. How deep do you want it to go? I'll be using 8 for mine. You can use any, but it's good you go low so that your head can pass. But since you're using zip at the back, fine. So I'm using 8. Then on that shoulder line, I'll go in by half an inch. This is just to guide, guide the curving process. Yeah, so I'll be curving that point to meet this half an inch, then down to the 8.8 inch this thing that I want to use for my neck opening, like so. I use my curve rule, then I'll be using my other ruler to connect it to meet the length of my neck opening. So the next thing we're going to do now is the lower part. So for the dart for the lower part, I use 7 inches. So I'll mark my 7 inches, then I'll connect it to meet the waist, the dart leg for the waist, for the upper part, like so. After that, I'll be taking a 1 inch dart for the lower part of this bodice, 1 inch, so half inch on both sides. Then I'll connect it to meet the lower side of the dart, if you get what I mean. So from there, I proceeded to mark my hip divided by 4. So I marked it there. Then I'll be connecting it to the waistline. So after marking here, I realized that I did not include this 1 inch dart, so I proceeded to add it. I added it back, so you see me, yes, that is me showing you the 1 inch. So here I've marked the 1 inch. I'll be connecting it to meet the hip line, like this. Yeah, so from here, the next thing is to, okay, here I'm just indicating that I'll not be using that line anymore. So the next thing will be to get our curve in the front. So like I did for the back, from that waistline you come down by 7 inch, right? So I'll be marking my 7 inch, but for the waist, sorry, on the hip line, I came down by 1 inch. I didn't do this for the back. This is because I want the curve in the front to be more pronounced. So I came down by 1 inch from that hip line. So I'll now connect it to meet that 7 inch mark, like this. So this will make the front part to be, curvier than the back. So after that, I went ahead to connect the waist to the chest line, like this. Then I'll also connect my new armhole. Remember, we came out by 1.5, so I'll connect it like this. Then I think that's all for the front pattern. So I'll go ahead and cut. Yeah, go ahead and cut and show you the sewing process. So here I have cut out my pattern. This is how my pattern is. Remember, the front, we are cutting the front, the center front unfold. So here I'm just cutting out my neckline. So remember, when you cut it unfold, the only thing you'll be opening up here is the neckline. Don't worry, you'll see it when I cut it on my fabric. So this is it for the pattern drafting. So I'll be adding 1.5 sewing allowance on the side, then ½ inch on other side. So 1.5 as my seam allowance. That's so for this, I'll be using this Ankara fabric for the upper part of the dress. Then I'll be using this crepe for the lower part. I used 2 yards of this crepe. So I used 2 yards. That's 36 times 2. That's for the width of the lower part. So this is how I see what I'm explaining. This is how I cut the pattern for the front, and this is for the back. Added allowance in all the necessary places. So here I've gone ahead to infuse interfacing on my front. This is my front panel, so I'll be going to my machine to sew it like so. Then I'll show you the next thing. So after sewing, I went ahead to notch. Very important. That way your seam will settle very well. I notched, then I opened up the seam like so, and I iron it down. After that, I cut a strip of interfacing. This also helps to keep the seam down. Yes, at times it might come up, so when you put your interfacing, it helps to keep them grounded. So you can do layers, as much layers as you want. You can do 2 or 3 depending on what you're working with. So here I think I used only one, so I'll just iron it down, make sure that everything is ironed down like this. I did it for the both side. Use my iron, preferably if you have a steam iron, it works. So after that, see how it's looking. So I went ahead, I brought my back panel, match it shoulder to shoulder, front side facing each other. I'll go and sew by that 1/2 inch sewing allowance. After sewing, the next thing you do is to notch that point you sewed. Yes, notch. This will help it relax very well. You notch very well, then you iron very well. After this, I will repeat the same thing for the lining, match the shoulders, sew, notch and iron. After sewing it, I brought both the front and the back, the lining and the main fabric, lay them front side facing one another. Then I'll match the neckline. Please be very careful, make sure that every point is matching each other. You can use your pin to hold it down, then you go and sew, iron, and this is how it came out. I also went ahead to sew the zip side. I sewed the zip side. So after sewing and iron, this is how it will look. So after this, I proceeded to work on the lower part. So for the down part, I've gone ahead to sew my dart, I've ironed, do the zip side, everything. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to match the front and the back, front sides facing each other. Then I'll go and sew at the side with the allowance I gave. And this is it. You see how the lower part came down? Yeah, because of that 1 inch I gave. So we're going to iron it, and this is how it looks. Then we're going to be joining the upper part to the lower part, like so. After ironing it, this is how it looks. So the next thing is to cut out the down part. So like I said I used 2 inches. I used the whole of the 2 inches. So what next thing I'll do is to determine the length of the gather. How long do I want it? I want it to flow very well. So here I'm just marking out the length, then I'll be cutting it off. So after cutting it off, the next thing I'll do is to gather it. I use my gather foot to do this, and luckily for me, after gathering it, I got exactly the length of the distance. I know you understand. So this is how it looks after gathering it. I also went ahead to hem it. I hemmed and ironed. The next thing is to attach it to the upper part. So here I have here I want to show you how I attach it. I opened the upper part. Yes, at that zipper side, you open it up, lay it flat, then you bring your gathered fabric front side facing each other like so. I'll go to my machine and I'll sew it by 1/2 inch allowance that I gave. Yes, 1/2 inch allowance. So this is how you carefully match it, then sew it. This is how it's looking after sewing it. So I'll go ahead and iron, pull my sleeve, and voila, this is how it looks on me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're going to do the same thing. Please don't forget to give my video a thumbs up, like and share. Thank you very much. Bye.